What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Hoops and Stuff podcast. I'm your host, Isaac, and today we're just going to go over the Eagles and 49ers first loss of the season. This means that there's no more undefeated teams, obviously. Those are the last two, and we're just going to go over their losses real quick. Just going to be a quick episode today. So first, we're going to talk about the Eagles. So we've seen the Eagles play the New York Jets today. Coming into this game, the Eagles were 5-0, and the Jets were 2-3. But the Jets took that dub 14-20, and that was obviously the final score. And I unfortunately was not able to watch the game. I've just heard about it, but looking at the stats, it was a terrible game for Jalen Hurts. He was 28 for 45 on passes. He threw for 280 yards, and he threw for one touchdown. Or he had one touchdown. It was a rushing touchdown. And he threw 3 interceptions, which is absolutely insane. That is nothing any normal QB besides Dak Prescott should be doing. And they had they had one receiving touchdown and one rushing touchdown. The rushing touchdown was from Jalen Hurts, and the receiving touchdown was from DeAndre Swift. So that's kind of weird because DeAndre Swift is a running back, so you would expect him to get the receiving or the rushing touchdown. Sorry, but yeah, it just seems kind of weird for me. But I mean, it's just really surprising that we've seen the Eagles lose this early into the season because they have a great team. Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback, but he just had one bad game today, and that cost them their first loss. For the Jets, we've seen Breece Hall snag up a touchdown. Very excited to see that. Zach Wilson had 0 touchdowns, but I'm gonna guess that there was a touchdown from... Actually, there wasn't. I was going to say I'm going to guess there was a touchdown from the defense, but I don't think there was. It says Greg Zuerlein had 12 points kicking, so the Jets relied on their kicking quite a bit. They were 4 for 4 on field goals, so that's pretty solid for the Jets. And definitely a big victory for this Jets team. And I think they would have definitely been a lot better with A-Rod. But Zach Wilson doesn't seem to be doing too bad after beating this Eagles team. But for the Eagles, I don't think this will really affect them too much. I think it was just an off game for Hurts. But I don't think that it'll affect them long term. But just looking at the Eagles' schedule real quick. So today was Jets. Their next game is going to be against the Dolphins, who they are a solid team. But I mean the Eagles are also like a really good team. So this was week 6. So that means week 7 they'll play the Dolphins, and then week 8 they play the Commanders. That should definitely be a win for them. And then week 9, they play the Cowboys, who do have they're a team with a great defense. So that could definitely end up being their second loss of the season, but I doubt it. I think that this Eagles team will make it pretty far. But the Chiefs in week 10, I want to say, because I'm pretty sure the Eagles have a bye week 9. So this will be week 10 for the Eagles. They'll play the Chiefs, and then they play the Bills. So the Eagles they started off their season with an easier schedule, but they're starting to end on a pretty hard schedule. I mean, besides they have like the Giants twice, they had the Cardinals, the Seahawks, but they have Chiefs, Bills, 49ers, and Cowboys all back to back. Sorry, they have Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, 49ers, Cowboys, all 5 in a row. So that's definitely going to be a hard stint for them, but I think that they'll do just fine. I think that they'll still be a pretty solid team. And I think that they'll definitely be a high seed in the playoffs, probably 1 or 2 seed. And I think it'll be an interesting game between them and the 49ers because that's like the only two teams that were undefeated, and they both lost today. So I think that'll be an interesting game to watch. And I'm excited to see if the Eagles continue on this trend of losses starting with this week, or if they'll keep winning and playing great like they did the first 5 weeks. Next up, we've seen the 49ers play the Cleveland Browns, and wow, I wasn't able to watch this game, but just looking at the score, I know this was an amazing game. It was 17-19, and again, first loss for the 49ers coming into the game, 5-0, and the Browns were coming in 2-2. They had their bye week. So this is definitely a big victory for the Browns, but it's also a big thing with their they have a really good defense. Brock Purdy was 12 for 27, so he had 15 incompletions, one being an interception, and he had 1 touchdown. And he only threw for 125 yards. So, I mean, really, on paper, Brock Purdy isn't great, but he's really not that bad, honestly. I think that Brock Purdy is a solid end-game player, but his stats just aren't great. Christian McCaffrey had no touchdowns, and he had 11 carries for only 43 yards. So, definitely not a great game for him either. And only 4 receptions for 76 yards from Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk has been a stud for this team this year so far. Oh, but Christian McCaffrey also had a receiving touchdown, so that looks to be their only touchdown that they had. I'm not sure. It doesn't really say if the defense had any touchdowns, but they had 5 points off kicking, and they had a touchdown from... Oh, sorry, they had 1 rushing touchdown from Jordan Mason, and they had 1 rushing touchdown from Christian McCaffrey. So that's what happened there. And then, like I said, Brandon Ayuk, no touchdowns for Ayuk this week, which is pretty upsetting because he's a really good player. I really like him. As for the Browns, they didn't even have Deshaun Watson. They had Philip Walker as their QB today. He had no touchdowns. He threw for 192 yards on 18 and 34, which, I mean, for a backup, it's all right. He threw 2 interceptions. They ran the ball quite a bit with Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt had a rushing touchdown, and that was their only touchdown, I think. Yeah, and Dustin Hopkins had 13 points kicking. So, I mean, the Browns are another team that, like, both teams that beat the undefeated teams, both had a lot of kicking points. And not to mention, both of these games were very close. So, I mean, it's not like they got blown out by these teams or anything. But I definitely think that the 49ers definitely should have won this game. But I feel like the defense did play a great part in this loss for the 49ers. But the 49ers also have a really good defense. They probably have one of the best in the league, if not the best. And this is another thing that we should talk about that we talked about for the Eagles, just to keep it even. Their schedule, and if I think that this will affect them for the rest of the season. And the answer is, again, going to be no. I don't think that this will affect them for the rest of the season. I think that, again, it was just a bad game for the team. They have Vikings next week, which they should win. Bengals haven't been playing great. Should take that. Jaguars are after that. They should take them too. Bucks should be a win. Seahawks should be a win. Like I said, Eagles and 49ers will be an interesting game. But Seahawks should be a win. Cardinals should be a win. Ravens should be a win. Commanders should be a win. And Rams should be a win. They shouldn't really lose many more games this season. Because because this is a really good team, honestly. I do really like this 49ers team. I think they're a great team. But yeah, I don't think that they'll lose too many more games because they don't really have that hard of a schedule. I mean, like the Rams, Commanders. But yeah, nothing much for this 49ers team coming up. I mean, they killed Dallas last week. They killed the Cardinals before that. They killed the Giants before that. They beat the Rams. They beat the Steelers. Barely beat the Broncos in the that's the preseason though. But yeah, I don't think that this 49ers team will have any struggles in the rest of the season. I think, like I said, it was just an off game for them. That's going to be it for today's episode. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next Sunday here on the Hoops and Stuff podcast.